Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole and it's by user ActiveView001. Am I the a-hole for housing my daughter but not my stepdaughter? Hi everyone, this is a doozy and I think I might be the a-hole, but I wanted some opinions. I'm a 48-year-old male that inherited a beach house from my grandfather. The house has been in my family for generations and it has a lot of sentimental value to me. I am now with my long-term girlfriend for 7 years after a divorce from my first wife, which ended on good terms. She has a daughter from a previous marriage and I have a daughter from my marriage as well. Our daughters are each 17, with mine being basically 3 months younger. Kara, the oldest, will be 18 in May. Kara has been in my life for 7 years and we have a good relationship. However, she has an active father in her life, so I did not fill that role. I was in her life 50% of the time, so I have no doubt I played a large role in her life, but I wouldn't say father, but others do say a non-legal stepfather. I have my daughter, Emmy, half-time as well, aside from summers when I had her more due to my and my ex's lifestyle. With that said, my ex and I have a good relationship, as does our daughter with all of us. Kara and Emmy have gotten along and they are friendly. They have made plans independent of myself and my girlfriend, but they don't consider themselves sisters or best friends. Now the issue. Kara will be going to school near the beach house and has asked if she can live in it to save money, which would be significant. Emmy approached me and said she wanted to live there after the summer but wanted to live alone while also in school. The home is more than big enough for two, but she pointed out that they have very different lifestyles and would be far more comfortable alone or with a friend if I insisted she lives with someone. It was a frank conversation and she brought up the fact that the home will be hers one day, so it made sense, and she was right. The home will be hers by law in a few years, as I will pass it to her. My girlfriend and Kara are very upset and calling it favoritism and pointing out that she will already be set for life between having a free ride to school via scholarships and housing, while Kara will be using loans and may have to take a gap year or attend another school altogether. They are asking me to reconsider and I think I've damaged my relationship. Am I the a-hole for this decision? I agree that it's favoritism, but Emmy is my daughter. Of course I'm going to favor her, right? Not the a-hole, OP. It's simple and you said it. Your daughter comes first and your girlfriend agrees with you because this is what she's thinking about, how to get her daughter to save some money because to her, her daughter comes first. Also, Kara is not your stepdaughter and I'm not sure that a non-legal step relative is a thing. I'm sorry Kara doesn't get to have the same opportunities that Emmy has right now, but it's not your responsibility to individually correct them. You are her mom's boyfriend. Granted, you're a big figure in her life, but you bear no parenting responsibility. And on this point, you mentioned her dad being active in her life. So what role is he taking regarding his daughter's education, along with your girlfriend of course? They are the ones that should be thinking about how to solve this along with Kara. Because it's their responsibility. OP, like you, I do think your relationship is damaged and it's deal breaker damage in my opinion. So yeah, OP, not the a-hole. It sucks, but Kara's not your responsibility. It's her mom and dad's. I also think you're gonna need to prepare yourself to have a tough conversation with your girlfriend. And what do you guys think about this whole situation? What is your judgment? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Tiny Pest says, not the a-hole. Your daughter is a non-party kid. Stepdaughter is a party kid. You own the property. And who in their right mind lets a party kid live in a home way far away who won't be monitored? Drunk kids destroy property all the time and it's you who will have to fix it. An apt or anything else means the legal side of you messed it up, or you have to leave for destruction, or noise issues are cut and dried, whereas with you, even sign stuff means a longer, harder road. Also, having a party kid with a non-party kid who is focused on school means the one with scholarships has to try and deal with keeping grades up and all the extra commotion in the house. To me, It's not about your kid versus stepdaughter. It's about keeping the property as is and not having the issues of destruction or other children losing scholarships. Acrobatic Western 739 says, not the a-hole. For 7 years, your daughter has been pleasant and friendly towards 2 people you brought into her life. Now she is moving into the next phase of her life and she would like less contact with them. That seems entirely reasonable. To force her into living with your girlfriend's daughter, especially when there's a lifestyle incompatibility, seems unfair and graceless. You and your girlfriend should be grateful your daughter has made things so easy in terms of the overlapping of your lives. It's absolutely not favoritism, which is an absolutely wild thing to say when Kara also has a living, breathing father with 50% custody. Lisa Volrath says, not the a-hole. If the 2 girls would not be compatible roommates, it makes sense that your daughter should live in the house she will inherit with a roommate of her own choice and that your girlfriend's daughter makes her own arrangements. Is it possible for you, your girlfriend, and your girlfriend's ex to contribute a little extra to help Kara with living expenses? That might take the sting out of not being able to live in the house. Also, since when is getting scholarships a free ride? As someone who went to grad school on scholarship, they don't just hand those things out to anyone. Your daughter probably worked very hard to get herself into a better position than your girlfriend's daughter. That shouldn't be used against her. Additional information from OP's comments. Kara is a social person, which has led to more of a party lifestyle. It's not uncommon for her to have friends around. I don't think Kara is all party all the time, but she definitely enjoys having a good time whenever she can, while Emmy prefers to focus on school, soccer, and small group meetings. Neither is wrong, just different. Emmy is social, but not a fan of parties and prefers to keep the home and social life separate. She wants to live alone and use the time to grow as a young adult while focusing on school. Her words. To clarify, Kara did ask first, but I didn't tell her yes. I told her I would have to look into it. There were things to consider, and during this time, Emmy approached me about the subject. It was her plan that she hadn't brought this up to that point. She was awarded an academic and partial sports scholarship, so my ex will cover the utilities and I will pay for taxes and groceries, and needed permission to stay off campus. After she got that permission, she felt okay telling me her ideas. Now, my girlfriend has not contributed to the beach house. She and Kara go to the house for a week twice a summer, which helps keep the house occupied. My girlfriend cares about this issue because she wants her daughter to have the opportunity. She also wanted Kara to enter the Air Force. I don't blame her for wanting the best. Without the living situation, Kara may have to take time off or choose a different school. Kara's dad has a gambling problem and any money they had was lost long ago, and my girlfriend works at Kohl's as a department manager. She does okay, but not well enough to pay for something as expensive as college. Also, for context, my girlfriend has known from before we started dating that I would never get married again. This is not at all an issue in our relationship. I don't want to lose my girlfriend, but I would choose my daughter's happiness over my own every time. When I had her, I put myself second forever. I would have no problem helping Kara with a computer and books for school, but I don't want to do something that my own child says will hinder her life in some way. Also, Kara is not my daughter. She has 2 parents. Her dad chose to gamble their savings away years ago. I know it's not fair because it wasn't her fault, but if they're looking for a person responsible, it's him. He is very much active in her life, he just can't help with any expenses. While I housed, clothed, and ensured Kara was all around taken care of. I should not be responsible for her education. That's between her parents. Alright, well, the community agrees that OP is not the a-hole, and OP gave us a lot more context regarding the whole family dynamics and what OP feels is his responsibility. So now it's time to move on with the update to see what happened next and how this story ends, but before that, of course, here's another one of my playlists for you to enjoy right after this video. Now, let's get on with that update. I spoke to Emmy and her mom and let them know where I stood, and that was beside Emmy. But I also felt that Kara and her mom deserved a genuine conversation. The conversation was this past Friday. The talk started out okay. Obviously, there were some emotions, but I started the conversation by telling everyone that there would be no yelling and tears would not be used to influence anyone. After it was all said and we began, I just proposed the situation like this. This is a second home that I own fully and outright. It will be Emmy's fully legally and in name in a few years, but as of today, it is mine. However, like the house, Emmy is mine and my responsibility. No one but us is entitled to it, and make no mistake, Emmy is indeed entitled to it. It may not be fair in your eyes, but it is what it is. I then said, Emmy, I can see why they think it's selfish as the house can accommodate you both, but I will support whatever you want to do. This is not a discussion to change your mind, but to better understand it. It started pretty bluntly with Kara and her mom saying they didn't understand why she didn't want her to live there as this would dictate a huge part of her future. The answer was half expected and the other half hard for everyone to swallow. Emmy said she didn't trust Kara to actually focus on school and not make the home into a party house. She point blank asked Kara if she could actually accept not having guests over. Kara said something like, a few people 2 or 3 days a week wouldn't be a problem. The answer should have been yes. Emmy said she wouldn't feel safe with her bringing over strange men whenever she wanted, and her dad would want to visit and she doesn't trust him at all. She said school was her main focus and staying safe would be a worry if Kara was there. Kara and her mom got defensive, but I told them it didn't matter. She can't say she won't bring people over, tells me all I need to know, and my daughter's safety is paramount, and Kara's focus was blurred. Socializing is fine, but perhaps I was wrong and it had gotten out of hand. I told my girlfriend that as her mother, she would have to address that, and that whatever the plan would have been for Kara's schooling had she not ever met me would have to be her course of action. As for Emmy after the conversation, I told her she would have a roommate as I felt it was important. She was okay with that and asked if she could ask a friend. I told her yes, so all is good there. As everyone guessed, my girlfriend is now ex-girlfriend. She asked me to stay somewhere else for a week while she found somewhere to stay. I reminded her that this was also my house, but she was free to leave whenever. She ended up going to stay with a co-worker, but something happened. She asked to come back, but I told her it wouldn't be wise. That's the update. My daughter is happy, I'm better than I thought I would be, and today is a new day. My ex will figure it out, and Kara has time to learn and grow. Final update 19 days later. To make a very long story short, this was not the full conclusion that I thought it would be. Kara is now in jail. She was picked up in a stolen Kia by some friends and they used the car to break into a pawn shop. I couldn't tell you what was stolen or how much was stolen, but some football cards were taken and I guess they were worth more than the car and building damage. I understand people will say a lot about this, but I can honestly say she never did anything remotely like this. The worst I think I saw her do was break a dish on purpose when she was 13. My ex? Well, she's living at a shelter now. She was not cheating on me and I never thought that she was. That was just people making leaps. Unfortunately, the woman she was living with asked her to join her and her husband for activities after moving in. She felt she had to do it for a place to live and she regretted it. She told people at work and was terminated after refusing a transfer. My daughter and I are good, but mentally shaken. Oh man, I was gonna say it was a positive update up until that last part, which was a kick in the teeth. I do hope Kara and your ex can turn things around, OP. As for you and Demi, I think you made the right decision. Your daughter comes first. So here's wishing you both all the best in the future and hopefully Emmy will do great in college. Take care, OP, and thank you for sharing. Now let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance and it's by user FirstContribution236. HOA tried to punish us, told us to stop them if we can. Malicious Compliance cost them 16% of their annual HOA income and the cameras are still installed today. This happened several years ago and is a multi-year long story. I'll keep it as succinct as possible. We installed cameras in front of our home that were looking at our vehicles. Part of the camera angles did overlook parts of two neighbors' properties, one backyard and one side yard. The cameras were battery operated and had a function where you could gray out areas that you didn't want to film. When motion occurred in the grayed out areas, the cameras would not be activated to film. The neighbor's entire properties and several bushes on our property were grayed out. We did this when installing them. One of the neighbors was a friend and had no issues with this whatsoever. We showed her the camera angle and she said she didn't care whether or not we grayed out that area. We still left it grayed out over battery life concerns. The other neighbor's name was Karen. Not really, but we all know why I chose that name. Karen was on the HOA board and, as you can imagine, we didn't get along with Karen or the HOA board. We told Karen about the camera and showed her the grayed out areas at the same time that we told our friendly neighbor about it. It was simply a for your information conversation. We were not on friendly terms, not an asking permission conversation. She told us to take the cameras down immediately or we would regret it. About a week after we hung up the camera, we got a notice from our HOA that we were violating the bylaws. The bylaw in question? A nuisance to your neighbor's bylaw. There wasn't a specific bylaw preventing the placement of cameras, so this is all they could find to try to punish us. We responded with a letter detailing how we were not violating any bylaws or laws in general and asked them to cease and desist. We all know how these stories go. They did not cease, and they did not desist. Their first response? The HOA has the right to enforce these bylaws. Try to stop us if you think you can. These types of responses were unfortunately quite common from this board. We entered this battle with one goal in mind, to cost them as much money and time as possible. The HOA hired a lawyer specifically to fight us. To my knowledge, this has not happened to any other residents. In the following 4 months, we ended up costing the HOA over $4,000 in lawyers' fees fighting this battle. For reference, the entire HOA income was around $25,000 a year. When it came time for our official HOA hearing over the matter, we had successfully postponed it thanks to an attorney friend 3 separate times. There were over 100 back and forth emails between the HOA attorney and ourselves. Each one of those emails was a 15-minute expense for the HOA, and I was happy to follow up a follow-up question with another follow-up question if it meant the HOA attorney was going to keep billing them. Did I say follow up enough times? We didn't actually want to take this battle to court, so we ended up removing the cameras the day of the hearing to prevent being fined, even if the fine wouldn't hold up in court. The HOA decided in the hearing that we were guilty, surprise surprise, of violating the bylaw, but they couldn't fine us, as the bylaws don't allow a fine until after a hearing has been held and the cameras were already removed. In the end, the punishment was a sternly written piece of paper on the attorney's letterhead delivered by certified mail that stated that we were not allowed to place a camera on our home that had the potential to invade a neighbor's privacy. Keep in mind, the letter specifically stated the camera could not be placed on our home. We left the cameras off of the home for about 4 months until the annual HOA meeting. You should have seen the look on the HOA board's faces when I asked them to explain the $4,000 line item for attorney's fees that simply stated title searches, attorney fees. The board actually tried to hide the fact that they spent $4,000 trying to fight us over a couple of cameras by putting the fees in as title searches. Needless to say, that meeting did not go well for them. About half of them lost their positions on the board. The other half, including Karen, unfortunately, remained on the board. About a week after the annual meeting, we installed new cameras, facing the same direction as the prior cameras. Only this time, we installed a post in the ground and mounted the cameras to that post. The admonishment we received after the hearing specifically stated that we were not allowed to install cameras on our home and said nothing about putting them on a post. They did send a letter to try to tell us to remove the cameras, but a sternly worded response indicating that we were prepared to fight them actually worked this time around. I guess they didn't want to spend another $4,000 fighting us. We didn't receive any follow-up responses, and the cameras on the post are installed to this day, over 2 years and running strong. Wow, Opie, nothing to say except this was epic and awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out, so here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later, and also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.